So, good evening. We are back again. It was a good evening last night. And we have got a full panel of lovely guests back again. Dan Potts, what are you saying, man?
Yeah, man. Good to be here, Lee. Good to be here. I'm still getting over last night, mate, to be honest. I still can't believe what I've witnessed, bruv. It was special, wasn't it? Considering that we haven't seen that pretty much all season. So yeah, the boys turning up really did me some justice. So yeah, man, I'm happy to be here with a good panel, man.
No, thank you, man. Jez, you were happy last night. Still happy today?
Very. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Dan's just said. We haven't seen it for a long time. Fantastic performance away from home in Europe. And yeah, big up to the boys and big up to Arteta. As you know, I'm not his greatest fan, but I think he got it all bang on last night. His tactics, can't fault the man. So yeah, overjoyed.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Kenny Ken back in his toilet again. What are you saying, man?
Oh, look, that was a fantastic performance. I couldn't fault any one of our players, and also, you know, I was very pleased for the players and everyone who's involved with the football setup. You know, as soon as we scored the first goal, I knew it would be difficult to beat, and I knew they'll panic. And I've realised that we're the ones who had the athletes, and we're the ones with the pace. And we just did what we didn't do last week, which was, you know, be a bit more ruthless. So I'm very pleased with the team.
Yeah, it was a great performance. And Afsal finishing his work as we speak. He's nearly done. What did you make of it, mate?
I'm done. I just got a last-minute contract to someone, so I'm all done now for the weekend. But good. Yeah, you know, very impressed. Honestly, even after last week's draw, I expected to beat them because I thought they were a very poor side. Last week, I was actually shocked how poor they were, and yesterday just summed it up. They weren't a good team, but having said that, I thought we were brilliant the whole game. And we were just, you know, this season, we haven't seen game. You know, like we take ages and ages to start games. And sometimes we don't even start the game. But this game, from minute one, we were just onto them. And you could see the players were fired up. And literally, it was like, I've not seen us play this quick-paced football the whole season. So it just shows we're very inconsistent, but you know what? We need more performances like that yesterday. Because from minute 1 to minute 90, well, I thought we were brilliant.
Yeah, that was one of the best games of football, one of the most enjoyable games of football I've watched us all season. But Dan, let me come back to you, mate. Obviously, we're in the semi-final now. Obviously, I think pretty much all of us in this panel are not Arteta's biggest fans. And listen, I think the one thing we can all agree on is that we want to win it, regardless of what we think of the manager. But are we going to win it? Obviously, we've got Unai Emery in the next round, which is a miracle he's even got there with the squad of players he's got. They are rubbish, mate. Like, literally, on paper, that squad shouldn't be anywhere near. It's got that added spice of him being the sacked manager from our club. And the second leg is at the Emirates, so he could have the last laugh here. But are you confident we can beat him and then get to the final and win it as well, or are you kind of worry about the final when we get there and let's just concentrate on beating Emery?
I think what this team has showed us this season is that it can't be trusted. However, it has showed us also that they can get up for big games, one-off games. And I think that's the only thing that can save our bacon in the Europa League, because we did it against Spurs. We turned up for the North London derby. We've done it against Chelsea. We've done it against United at Old Trafford. And we've done it in the Europa League a couple of times, you know. So that is the only thing I would say about it. Obviously, it's a great omen that we finished on a high last season by winning the FA Cup. So we'd like to finish as high up the table as we can and on a high this season by winning that Europa League. Now, I'm not too fussed about the league, if I'm honest with you. A lot of people still think that they're trying to, you know, go for 6th or 7th. I really don't care, if I'm honest. I'd rather be out of that bloody relegated Europa League bullshit, if I'm honest with you. So if it means that we have to finish outside of the top 10, then so be it, as long as we win that Europa League. Because if you would have said to me at the start of the season, would I prefer to be in the top 4 or would I prefer to win the Europa League? I want to win the Europa League, because what you get to show for being in the top 4, absolutely naffle. So let's have a trophy. Let's play Champions League football. Can we do it? Yes, because somehow, I don't know how, this manager can get this team up for one-off games. So, yeah, I'm quietly confident. 2 very difficult sides. I mean, even Roma as well. We're all assuming United will beat Roma, but Roma are a decent side. Villarreal is going to be tough. Emery's going to want revenge, and he's going to know what half those players are like, and our weaknesses. So I think it's going to be difficult. However, of course, we can't get off on one-off games. So yeah, quietly confident, I would say, Lee. Quietly confident.
That's the thing. We're so consistently inconsistent. Like, this team can turn up and beat anyone. We've seen that with the cup final last season. We beat City in the semi. We beat Liverpool in the Community Shield, albeit on penalties, but we still beat them. We beat them at the Emirates as well in the league. So we can beat decent teams, but we just don't seem to have a level of consistency that gets any of us confident. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. One week it's great, the next week it's complete opposite. Even in the same football match, one half would be crap and the other half would be great. You know, but Jez, what do you think, mate? Obviously, we all wanted Unai Emery gone at the end, but I think how we've seen Arteta deal with league campaigns, I think we're all thinking maybe we pushed Emery out a little bit too soon. But do you think, like, obviously he's going to be up for it? Do you think that the players are going to be up for it to say, yeah, that's justified? Look, he had to go, and we're playing for this manager now? Because I see a response from them last night, because I didn't think a lot of them were playing for him. Yesterday, that kind of shut me up because that performance was ridiculous. But do you think like Dan, that we can beat them and get to the final, or do you think that Unai Emery is going to have the last laugh?
I said last night, Lee. I can't put my finger on this, but Arteta seems to have this thing in cup competitions. I don't know. I mean, last night was awesome. To answer your question, yeah, I think Arsenal, if he can get his tactics right again with the right team, yeah, I am confident that they will beat Villarreal. And be honest with you, I was not one of the Emery out fans, to be fair. I would rather give him a bit more time. A bit like Dan said, I think, you know, let's forget about the league now. I want us to get back into Champions League football. I think getting back in there would be good for Arsenal. I think it would be embarrassing because haven't seen how some of these teams, PSG, etc., have played. I've got no ambitions that we would win that, but it would be good for the club. And let's be honest, as we said last night, when was the last time Arsenal won a European trophy?
It's been way too long for a club of our size compared to, especially when you see Chelsea winning them. Like, you know, and they're only around the corner from us, and they've won the Europa and the Champions League, and they could potentially win the Champions League again this season, which would be mad considering where they were when they sacked their manager. But yeah, I think like I'm kind of with you two that the league, like, we've got to wrap some of these players up in cotton wool now. Yeah, because Bukayo Saka, like, he's had a few injuries this season. We cannot afford to not have him available for that semi-final, because if we're going to win this tournament, we need Saka available. We need Aubameyang back to his best, albeit he didn't play last night and we slapped Slavia Prague. But if we're going to win it, we're going to need both of them on it. And we've got Fulham at the weekend, which, listen, they play good football. They're a decent team, albeit their league position don't show that. But they've been very unlucky this season with some of their games. And I wouldn't be going out there risking some of the players after the shift they put in last night. But Kenny, what about you, mate? Do you think it's Unai Emery's to lose, or do you think it's ours to lose? Because listen, the pressure on Arteta now is going to go up tenfold. Because if we got knocked out last night, cool, whatever. Yeah, we're knocked out, but it's not to get into a final. We're now on the cusp of a final, and that's massive, not just for the club, but for him as well. But what do you think, mate?
Well, the thing about it is that, you know, I've heard, you know, what the panel said about, you know, our chances of getting the final. But I was looking at it this way. When you get to semi-finals, there's only good teams get to semi-finals. And I think at the moment we've got 25% chance of winning the competition and a 50% chance of getting the final. That's how I look at it in terms of, you know, layman's terms. But in terms of Unai Emery, I second what Jez says. I do think that our fans were very harsh with Unai Emery. I think there was a lot of disrespect. Maybe it was because of the fact that Arsene Wenger was there for a long time, and maybe they didn't like the fact that people like ourselves wanted Arsene Wenger replaced, and Unai was getting it. But I wasn't impressed with the way, you know, the fact that he couldn't speak the language became an issue. Very unimpressed, and the way they're blaming him for everything that's gone wrong in the last you know, 2 or 3 years. Like it's just all Ula's fault. Like I've had one guy who should be more respected than, you know, the comment he made was saying that he has nightmares about Unai Emery's reign. Really? Seriously. But in terms of what the panel said about the league, the thing about, you know, us not taking the league seriously, I do get that. But you have to have a situation where we still have to have this attitude that we're playing for places. Like if the you know, Europa League semi-finals and possible final is like the Willy Wonka golden ticket, you get a place, then you have to do it in the league, and you have to show your manager what you're about, because there's going to be a situation, there's going to be injuries, because that's who we are and everything. And one thing is that from what I've seen, and judging by the team selection that Mikel picked yesterday, a lot of those players, maybe 2 or 3 games ago, would have got starting places, which tells me every place is up for grabs. No one has stood out. Aubameyang hasn't stood out. Lacazette is probably our top goal scorer. He hasn't stood out as well. So everyone who's come in, they've made kind of an argument to actually start games, because let's face it, normally when there's good teams, some players in good teams are irreplaceable. You can't really say that in any of our positions, from, you know, Leno all the way to Aubameyang. There's places up for grabs, and that's why sometimes you've got to take the league seriously. In terms of other things as well, remember, we've got 2 weeks to go before the first leg, which means we've got a couple of league games. Now, if it goes south against Fulham, and if it goes south in the other fixtures as well, there's going to be that added pressure and added unrest amongst the fan base, where people are going to think, we're not really happy with that. And then all the pressure goes on the players to make VIEIRA, you know, the be all and end of everything. And that's why I think we still got to be honest in that situation. Because let's face it, even if any of the players get injured, I won't lose sleep over it, because they haven't been consistently great in the most important competition, which I consider to be the Premiership. And people who come in, they've always managed to take their chance, excel themselves. And one more thing I'm going to say, because I'm babbling on about, the problem we've got with Arteta is that he's a cup manager, and that's all well and good. But do we want a cup manager? Do we want to genuinely challenge to be an important team in the league, in terms of challenging for the top 4 regularly and trying to win the league? Because at the moment, if we win the Europa League, we're technically keeping. But all I'm saying is that we're going to get these same results, because the way Arteta manages, he manages every league game like a cup. You can experiment and change your formations and change the tactics during cup competitions, use horses of courses. You can't in the league. You've got to have a continual style of play. And that's why, big up Arteta, but I do have serious concerns in where the club see themselves. You know, are you an important league team? Do you want to be one of the biggest teams in the country and in Europe, or do you just want to be a cup team who could beat anyone on their day?
Yeah, no, you're spot on, Kenny. Listen, like, a lot of people mug this competition off. Yeah, like, I'm not one of them, by the way. Anyone who's watched this channel since I've had it knows that I rate the Europa League. Yeah, because we actually have a chance to win it every year. You know, and we're not good enough to go and win the Champions League. Even if we get in it, we'll probably be the whipping boys of our group. Right? And then we'll probably be back in the Europa League anyway. But I just think like this tournament now has become the be all and end all because of how poorly this manager has managed the season, how poorly he's managed some of the players, how the players looked fed up with him at certain times in this season. Some of them still do. The fact that he doesn't know his best 11, his best formation, he doesn't know how and when to make subs at the right time. And that is why we're now in a position where all pressure is on this competition. And that's why everyone's now going, oh, it's great if he wins it. Yeah, it is great if he wins it. I ain't interested in a paid employee's future at the football club. I'm interested in us being the best we can be. And 9th in the table is not the best we can be. So even if he wins it, I've said this on record before, I'll say it again. Even if he wins it, get rid of him. But let me come to Afzal. I know you've been an Arteta fanboy all season.
No,
but,
I wouldn't.
Go on.
I wouldn't say that, Lee. First of all, I've been one that has never said the process is 4 years, right? For me, that's the biggest myth. How can a process be 4 years, right? Yeah, no other big club gives managers 4 years to settle in, this and that, right? For me, I said at the beginning of the season, Arteta's got one job: get Arsenal back in the Champions League, right? If he doesn't do that, then, he's failed, in my opinion. And if he does that, then fair play. So, like I said to you yesterday, I'm going to wait till, obviously, the Europa League until I make my judgment about what I want to happen last season. I said this in September. I said this in October. I said this in November. I've been saying this all season. I said, we get Champions League football next season, then, you know what, fair play. He does another shot. If we don't, then he doesn't. However, having said that, I've always made it clear the league is always the bread and butter, right? And 10th place, 9th place, wherever, is not acceptable at all. And for me, I've always said that top 4, is very, very important. I've always said it's very important to get into the Champions League. But you know what, right? It's a tricky one because I'm so disappointed with our league season, and it's probably going to be our worst ever league finish in Premier League season apart from 1995, by the looks of it. But if we win the Europa League, this bad season will end in joy. You know what I mean? Will we win the Europa League? I think we're second favourites. I think Man United are favourites. I honestly think it's going to be an Arsenal-Man United final. And like Kenny said, Arsenal in the last few years have been a cup side. And on our day in a cup game, I think we can beat majority teams, like it showed in the 2017 Cup final. Chelsea had just won the league. We beat them in the Cup final. Last year, Chelsea had got top 4. We beat them in the FA Cup final. United will come second in the league this year. We're going to come 9th or 10th. And on a one-off game, we can beat them. I think we've had a good draw during the way. I think Olympiacos this year weren't the team as they were last year. Benfica aren't the Benfica of 3-4 years ago. Prague, no matter what anyone says, I think we're awful. I think Prague were awful. I think they're one of the worst teams we've played this season. We've got Villarreal next. Honestly, we should be beating that Villarreal side. I was looking at their team yesterday, and we should be beating a Villarreal team. Yeah, I know it's an Emery Arteta thing. I know it's your manager, Lee, in Villarreal. It's going to be a big one for you, Lee, your manager. But you know what? Yeah, I honestly think we'll beat Villarreal. I'm actually confident. And yeah, I think it's going to be Arsenal United, and it's going to be anyone's game on the day. That will determine a lot about Arteta's future. I don't think the club will sack him, though, if we don't win the Europa League. I don't think that. I think they will give him one more year. But if that is the case, then the club are acting like a club have got very small mentality, because we should be minimum, we should be minimum top 4 in the aim should be at the beginning of the season, top 4 and try win a trophy, correct? Because obviously winning the league, we ain't good enough. We're miles behind. So let's be realistic. The aim was get the top 4 and win a domestic trophy or qualify for the Champions League. If he does that, fair play. If he doesn't, then serious questions have got to be asked.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I seriously think if we don't win the Europa, if we don't get to the final, I think they'll sack him. I genuinely do.
You think so?
Think they'll sack him.
No,
I think they'll sack
I don't
him.
think they will. All right,
Because...
Lee, let me ask you. Can I ask you guys all a question? Would you guys sack him if we won the Europa League?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Jez?
Yes.
Jez? Would you sack him if we won the Europa? And Dan?
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. It's a full house. Yeah, I would.
I understand. No, see. I wouldn't because he's done what I wanted at the beginning of the season to get Arsenal back in the Champions League. But I fully understand why you guys would, because you guys are obviously thinking the league is the number 1 priority, and 9th or 8th or 10th place.
Yeah, the league shows where you are consistently over a course of 38 games.
It is,
you
but
are
I just think we will never sack a manager who's just won us a European trophy and got us into the Champions League.
That is exactly why we won't get back to where we want to be.
But and do you know what it is, Lee, as well? Just quickly, do you know what it is as well? I don't judge teams on what they win. I judge teams on how they perform. And I don't believe that we are performing to where we should be, anywhere near, in fact, where we should be consistently. So if it's about what you win, football's about winning trophies, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't mean when you win something, it makes you absolutely outstanding. And I've said it before, otherwise Di Matteo would be much better manager than Arsene Wenger because he's won a Champions League and Arsene Wenger hasn't. And Kevin De Bruyne and Virgil van Dijk could be awful in comparison to Mustafi and Ozil because they've won the FA Cup and De Bruyne and Van Dijk haven't. So for me, it's about how you perform consistently. And we ain't seeing that under this manager.
Yeah, 100%. We have turned into a cup team. Let me come to Chig. He's lost in N9. Put your sat nav on, mate. And
I'm here, buddy.
Hope you're well, man. Hope you're doing good. We obviously watched the game last night. We did the watch along. Sadly, the last one on the channel, and we were absolutely buzzing. We couldn't believe what we were watching last night. Do you think that's a one-off, Chig, or do you think we can do that again and raise it again for VIEIRA?
I don't see why there's a reason why we couldn't do it again. But I guess it's what the boys have alluded to. Are we a cup team, or are we a team that you can see consistency being built, a foundation being built? I don't see that. And now some people might find that a bit surprising. It's like, well, Sheik, how could you say that? Look at the youngsters. You mean the youngsters he was forced to use and that he still doesn't like using? It's not like these are players in which, you know, even if you wanted to make that argument about Wenger in his latter years, about how he was trying to transition the side into more of a younger side and he was trying to build a team into younger players, one could even make that argument because this was at least a manager who depended on those young players to pull him through. You know, I found it interesting that, you know, I was watching your stream of rants, and it was true, actually. You know, we were a team who were very renowned for their young players, and all of a sudden we've veered so far away from that. And actually, it's our obvious answer to go back to that, to reinvest in that type of plan, in that idea of, okay, well, we clearly can't compete with the world's best on a financial level. So how the heck do we make ourselves competitive all around? And youngsters is the way. And youngsters has been the thing that has constantly bailed. And this is and that is, let's just be real here. That is what Dan's alluding to. Bailed this manager out. This has not been a plan of the manager. It's not been a strategic point of the manager. It's been something that he's bailed him out. Now, if he gets to the point where he says to himself, you know what, I've learned from this season. The season has really served me right. I've won the Europa League, and I'm going to start to change my tactic to adapt my plan of youngsters, of looking towards youth, of looking towards energy, of being a forward-thinking manager, and saying to myself, right, cool, I'm going to start to think towards that direction in order to be able to progress this club. He'll get all the credit in the world from me. But as far as I can tell, this is going to be another reason for people to knight the guy. And but it won't stop me from wanting the team to win. Listen, at the end of the day, I still want Arsenal to win. And if there's an opportunity to win another trophy, to be able to secure Champions League, I will never detract from that. But to tell me that, oh, well, you know, that's the reason why Arteta is class. Nah, I've not seen that at all. I've seen a guy that's been lucky. If you want me to be real, let's call it what it is. He's been lucky, and he's still not won it yet. I think that people need to remember that.
Exactly.
Not won it yet.
That's the point, Chig, right? When I was speaking to Rance earlier, we were talking about Chelsea's youth academy. Yeah, and in the last 5-6 years, their youth academy has helped balance the books so they can go and do 200 million last summer. Yeah, they've got Tomori on loan at AC Milan. He's hardly played a game for Chelsea, and he's got 35 million price tag attached to him this summer. You know, that is how you do your youth setup. You get all of these kids out on loan, and then eventually their price goes up because they're playing more football matches. Yeah, we have maybe 7 players out on loan. Chelsea have got 47. You know, and that's the difference. We haven't invested enough into that to make it balance the books. And this is why, if you're in a position where we are now as a football club, where we can't go and compete £200 million summer window. We can't do that. That's fact. So what you have to do is you then have to put the young kids in to then make them the future sales at big money. Hudson-Odoi was touted at 50 million quid a couple of years ago. Yeah. We got 40 for Alex Iwobi. So Hudson-Odoi is 50 million quid. You know, he plays week in, week out for the team that's in the Champions League semi now. And we loaned out Guendouzi. Cool, I get it. But if we had kept him and we played well this season with him in the first team at Arsenal, it'd be worth 45 million quid come the summer. He ain't getting 45 million quid attached to him this summer. And Martinelli's another one. You know, we've got Balogun, another one. These are the kids that are going to help this football club get back to being able to be a force, because if they get to a level where they're 60, 70 million quid, sell them, rebuild, sell them, reinvest. You know, and Chelsea do that year in, year out with players that don't even play because they've got such a big production line of these players. We're doing it with a handful of kids, hoping that they're going to be the superstars of the future, and then half of them don't even play. Yeah, and that is down to Arteta, but it's also down to the club not having a clear plan of what they want to do going forward as a football club. It's just, oh, well, we'll keep Wenger for 6 years too long. Oh, well, we'll sack Emery at the first available opportunity because we never wanted him anyway. And now what we do is we're just blag of processes happening with this manager. Yeah,
but Lee, see, all those reasons are the reasons why you will never sack Arteta, no matter what. You see what you just said? That's why you won't sack Arteta. Then when you asked before, do you think Arteta will get sacked? No. Not even a little bit. Not even a little part of me thinks that will happen. Just because I think at the moment he was the easiest choice then, he's the easiest choice now, he's the easiest choice going forward.
Do you think we're stuck with him for how long? What, his whole contract and then an extension, or just the current contract?
Honestly, Lee,
a new challenge.
Half of it. I think a lot of it will depend on this Europa League. If we win, like, you know, for example, right, if Emery won that Europa League, right, Emery would have got the whole of last season, correct?
Yeah.
Let's be realistic, right? But because Emery failed to get us qualified for the Champions League, Arsenal sacked him, you know, in November. They didn't wait till the whole season, sacked in November. I think it's going to be the same thing. If Arteta wins the Champions League, he will get the whole of next season. If Arteta does not, the Europa League, he will get the whole of next season. If Arteta does not win the Europa League, it will be a... Sorry, did I cut off? Oh, sorry, I just got a call. I cut it. Sorry. If Arteta wins the Europa League, he'll get the whole of next season as a bit of a leeway. If Arteta does not win the Europa League, then he will be judged on a game-by-game basis next season, just like Emery did.
But don't you think? Let me come to Dan on this one. Yeah, we did that with Unai Emery when he got sacked. Right, he obviously lost the final, embarrassed us in the final. I don't necessarily pin it all on him. Some of them players were shambles in that final. In fact, one of them that wasn't was Iwobi. He actually done all right when he come on, scored a banger that no one's ever going to fucking remember. But we obviously didn't sack him at the end of that season, and then we gave him the window. I think we brought in, was it Tierney, Pepe, David Luiz, and somebody else who I can't remember, Danny Ceballos. Then obviously after 13 games we potted him. But don't you think that's counterproductive? Because if we do that again with this manager, then the new manager comes in if we sack him, right? After 13, 14, 15 games, the new manager comes in halfway through a season and it's just another spiral of crap of, oh, well, he hasn't had a pre-season. He hasn't got his own players. And it's just a never-ending cycle. Where is the cut-off point?
Well, I don't think the owners or board actually wanted to sack Emery. The fans decided that they had to. And I think the same thing would have happened if we were still in the grounds. I don't think we'd have this manager now, because I honestly believe the fans would have got so toxic like they did under Wenger, like they did under Emery, and the board would have had to give us an answer. And the answer would have been, yeah, we cannot be in 12th place, which we were at one point in the league. So he has to go. He's underachieving. The problem we've got is the fans aren't there at the moment. Our fan base can't unite anyway. So when you get to the stage of our board and owners who have accepted mediocrity, in my opinion, and are turning us into a novice club, they're going to trust the novice. And that's my worry, Lee, that we will be with Arteta, whatever happens at the end of this season. I'd probably put my house on it that he's going to be our manager to come the end of the season, no matter what happens. Because I believe that they've bought into this process, which nobody can tell me what it is, but they've all bought into this process. So they believe that he is the man for the job. And I think they're going to give him the summer transfer window. People are saying they believe in this process, but in the same sentence, the fans that want Arteta in are saying they'll give him till Christmas. So what? Process only lasts 6 months then, does it? I mean, you might as well stop.
Yeah.
Turn it over now.
People that are trusting it, Dan, were saying that if he lost last night, they want him out. Yeah,
that's what I mean. So I don't get this, and also this reactionary stuff from last night's performance and beating Sheffield United. It's absolutely fine to celebrate a win. Yeah, I was absolutely buzzing like everybody else was, but it's still realistic to know we are nowhere near where we should be. Where we should be, and it's fair enough for people to turn around and say, "Don't be so fickle and start wanting the manager out as soon as you lose." Well, don't start wanting him in as when we start winning. Then it's exactly the same thing. I've seen this over the league in terms of consistency. I haven't started to decide, and I know you did, Lee, but I didn't want Arteta out the first time he walked into the club. I'm going to hold my hands up and say I didn't ever want him here. Certainly not. I wanted a Simeone or an Allegri or an Ancelotti, 100%. However, when he was here, I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I've not seen progress. That's the reason I want him out, because I've not seen us progressing. It's not because I don't really know the guy. I've never met the guy. I don't have a personal hate towards the guy. I just don't look at like the way he's doing stuff on the pitch. Off the pitch with Edu, I would say that we have improved off the pitch in terms of our recruitment. Not many bad signings have come through the door. Potentially, you could look at Willian and Ceballos. Most of the others have been okay, if I'm honest with you, and improved the side in terms of Partey, Gabriel, Tierney, Martinelli, those sort of players, etc. So over the last few windows, we've seen that it has improved behind the scenes. And Arteta has kind of been a part of some of those signings that we've seen come through the door of late. But I think on the pitch is where it's a results business, and this guy has not shown enough progress, in my opinion, to keep him long term. So it would be very harsh, of course, to sack somebody after winning the Europa League. Of course it would. I'm not denying that. And in 2 years, if you bring home an FA Cup and a Europa League, people would say it was very harsh. But like we've already said, and people have said in the chat, other clubs have done it. And I don't think we are like those other clubs. We never have been. We've never been like Chelsea. We've never been like Real Madrid. We don't sack managers like that. So I think we are going to be stuck with him, whatever happens, Lee. But of course, I want us to win the Europa League because, believe it or not, I'm a huge Arsenal fan. So I want us to win this, man, massively.
No, I thought you were plastic, mate. I thought you should get yourself off down the road to White Hart Lane, mate. You know what I mean?
Some people do, bro. You want to see some people on Twitter today. Unbelievable. Like, honestly.
Jez, obviously, I think we're all pretty much in agreement that he is going to be the manager next season. Yeah, much to our dislike. But what do you think that this club has to do in the summer to get us? Let's assume that we don't win the Europa, and then we'll do it with winning the Europa, because obviously the money factor and the fact that we'll be in the Champions League with qualifying, obviously that can attract slightly better players apparently, but I think that's a myth. I think that, we signed Aubameyang, Lacazette and other players along the way without Champions League football. So if you pay the money, you get your man. But what do you think we need to do to get back into that top four next season?
I'm going to keep on this one. I do not see Arteta as the man to lead us into the top four or to win us the Premiership. And I've said this before, Alicia. If fans were in the stadium now, yeah, he would have been gone. That's my personal belief, because the board, Edu and Unai, they are frauds themselves. They back Arteta, yeah, and the fact that I have not seen any progress under this supposed process, and if he does win this up, then fantastic. But where are we going to go forward from that? This club needs a major makeover. We have players in this setup which are not good enough for Arsenal. And yeah, okay, I got people having a go at me last night in the chat about Xhaka. Now, Xhaka played great last night. He really did, and I gave him 8 out of 10. But he is not consistent enough, and there's too many players in this team that are inconsistent. They'll turn up one week, and then you don't see him for another couple of weeks. Lacazette last night, great game, my man of the match personally. But there's so many times when that guy can't finish. Aubameyang this year's got otitis. Otitis and malaria apparently now. But, this is what is fundamentally wrong in this club. There is no continuation of good performances. It's up, down, and I do not see. And I know probably going to disagree with me, Axel and Dan, but I don't see Arteta as the man to take us any further. He is good in cup competitions. I still say the FA Cup, we were lucky. We were lucky in that cup final. Chelsea lost two of their very good players, and you can say they didn't turn up on the day. We did. But, we have to look to get back in the Champions League. And I know we wouldn't win it, but the Champions League brings in big money that can be invested. And we need to invest because, we all know that Kroenke's not going to get his checkbook out. That doesn't happen in football. We all know that. It's all done on the fact that the club has to have money. Now, we have got money in the bank, but they're not going to draw that 220 odd million out to splash it on players. It's not going to happen. So where are we going to get that money from? Selling some players that are basically just not good enough, and let's bag, say, 80, 90 million from the sale of those. Invest in one or two very good players, like a very good right back. Yeah. I'm still not convinced on our keeper. He didn't have a lot to do last night, so I can't really comment. But we sold our best keeper in Martinez. Sorry, mate. If I'd been Arteta, right, and both those players have come to me and said, I want to be number one, I'd have said, prove it. Prove it to me who's the best out of the two of you, and you'll be my number one. Not sell the guy. Not kick him out the door and say, well, yeah, okay, I want Leno.
So, no, I 100% agree with you on that. Martinez has opened, he won't shut up since he's left, by the way. He's just constantly having a dig. It's hilarious. But I think the thing is, when he went and said, I want to be number one, he'd been on that cup run. He'd played the league games. He was absolutely fantastic. A massive part of the reason we won that cup. And to be told that Leno's my number one after you've done that, for me, I'd tell him I want to leave as well. And to be fair to the club, that he came out, what a nice little interview he did at the end to say goodbye to the fans and all that. I thought that was a nice touch. But I think that if that was me in that situation, I was Arteta, I would have said, yeah, you can be my number one now because you've got the gloves. Yeah, doesn't matter whether Malpai injured Leno and that's how he lost it, and it weren't on form and stuff like that. He's in goal and he can keep the gloves. Once he fucks up, Leno's back in goal. Yeah, and if Leno don't like it, bye, see ya. Because when I look at both of them keepers, they're pretty much the same age, give or take a couple of months. They're similar height, but one of them's fucking massive and commands his box, and the other one drops like a sack of spuds and punches everything. Yeah, and it's just I don't get what Arteta has seen. A lot of people I speak to online say, oh, it's because Leno's better with the ball at his feet. His job's to save fucking shots, mate. Yeah, great, you can pass out from the back. But I've watched a lot of Aston Villa this season. Emi Martinez is just as good, if not better, at passing out from the back.
He's better. So his distribution's better. Martinez, 100%.
100%. And he's a better shot stopper. He catches more shots rather than punching and parrying stuff. But every time he makes a mistake, our fans are going, look, he's made a mistake. How many's Leno made this season? Yeah. But people say, but Leno's not made mistakes that have led to goals. Well, hang on, he punched one into the net against Sparta Prague last week. Why is he trying to punch that? It was literally near post and just dropped. It was like somebody just swiped his legs out and he just folded. How many times have we seen him cock up this season? And I'm 100%, Jez. I think that we've got a lot of players here that are fringe players, like the Joe Willocks, the Maitland-Niles. They can't get in the team anymore, so they've got to go. Eddie Nketiah is another one. How he came on before Balogun last night is embarrassing. There's three players there that we could probably get 45 million quid for between the three. Then you add in Torreira, Guendouzi. I'd keep Guendouzi. I think he's quality. But this manager don't, and he can't handle a player with an attitude. Yeah, we've seen that because he shipped him straight out. Yeah, so if you add them two in, that's now what, say another 35, 40 million quid. So that's now what, 85 million just off of them. Then we've got a big dilemma with Lacazette this summer. Yeah, because he is in good form, but he ain't good enough. Yeah. And then we've got other players like Bellerin that we could get money for. So we could potentially get rid of 7 or 8 of these players and make over £100 million. But then are we going to go out and trust this manager and trust Edu? And I agree with Dan. We have made some good signings since Edu's been here. But do we trust Arteta and Edu to go out and spend over £100 million this summer on proper players? I don't. What about you, Kenny?
See, that's the thing about it, right? You know, I've listened to all your points. And one of my beefs with Arteta, and this ties in what you're trying to say, he always gets credit for everything. Odegaard come. Oh, because of Arteta. It's sunny because of Arteta. We win. It's because of Arteta. Balogun signs a contract because of Arteta. The Arteta that puts Eddie in front of him, by the way. But it's because of Arteta and his plans. We lose. Oh, no. It's not Arteta. You've got to trust the process. You can't always blame the manager. Gets credit for everything. And that is my biggest beef with him. Tying in with your point as well, you forgot Aubameyang as well. Now, last season, I was against giving him a new contract not because of how I thought this season was going to entail. It's because the way Jez described it, we do need to balance the books and sell in order to refinance their squad. And I wanted him sold. This season hasn't changed. I want Aubameyang to be one of those players who to be sold. Bellerin has lofty ambitions of playing for PSG and getting the Spain national side, maybe for the Euros or for the World Cup in next November 2022. Help him win his way. Let's get some money in as well. I agree with the fact that Maitland-Niles has to go. He's not good enough for the club. And there's Willock. And that is one of the situations I like to see. In terms of trusting Arteta to get the right people, well, what Arteta needs to do, top-class right back. I want Leno replaced, top-class goalkeeper. I want a complete and proper centre forward. No messing around. If you want to win the challenge for the league and challenge of the top 4, I want a centre forward who can play with his back to goal, can run down those channels, hold the ball up and score goals. There are some centre forwards. Ollie Watkins, I would like you to have a look at it. We can go look at Max Aarons as well. In terms of goalkeepers, we can get the Slovenian number 1, which is Oblak from Madrid. If we're genuinely serious, and Arteta is really the man to bring us forward, and I don't believe he is, not in a million years, there needs to be the signings he needs to be looking at. No gradual nothing, right? Because the simple reasons that your league performances are the barometer for success. And at the moment, they're appalling, which means if you really want to challenge the league, 2 things you have to do: get a proper team and get a genuine style of play, and it has to be set in stone. None of this chopping and changing from because we beat City, we play like wing backs, and then when it don't work, it's a back 4, and then it's back to wing backs, and then it's like split strikers, and then your best players get Arteta's best players in his head get COVID. Oh, we've been in lunches. Oh, Arteta planned this all along. Let's just settle for that. One of the reasons why he does well in the clubs is because, as I said earlier in the show, it's because of he's got, how do I say it, he's very scatterbrainish in terms of his tactics and how he wants the team to play. You can get away with that in competition. In the league, there's a reason why we're doing really poor in the league, and that's him. Surely 100% on him, which means he hasn't played to the player strengths like Moyes has done at West Ham, and he hasn't done it with what Tuchel's done at Chelsea. So he needs to do that if he wants to keep his job next season. And in addition, get players who are going to identify how he wants us to play. That's how to do. But in terms of whether I trust him to do it, no, not at all, because the names I'm asking for, I don't think he's the man to get us over the line. I really don't.
No, I agree. And another one that you could add to that list is Jack Grealish. Yeah, but knowing the way our fans rave and rant about every single player we've got, and then when we lose, one more thing as well. And I know this is very unpopular. I know we're talking about Smith Rowe being a Croix de Bonya. I'm sorry, I'm in the results because I'm ruthless. We should go and break the bank for Houssem Aouar of Lyon. All right, you don't think Grealish? You go with
Houssem Aouar. I want Houssem Aouar because the reason why is that we can actually get him. Lyon this season haven't been in Europe, so they're going to be suffering financially. The French TV deal has been there's been problems with the French TV deal, so there's no money coming in for clubs like Lyon. All right, they might get the Champions League next year. He might give them 1 year, but I don't see any reason why we don't make Lyon an offer they can't refuse, and then say to the guy, all right, Hussein, we're tripling your wages. If we really, really want to be the team that's going to challenge, these are the players I want.
No, mate, I agree. And listen, let me come to Afsal, because I think a lot of people have forgotten that we've got 120 million pound government grant, loan, whatever you want to call it, that's due to be paid back next month in full. 120 million in one payment. So it's all well and good that everyone was ranting and raving. Oh, we've got Ozil off the wage bill. We've got Mustafi off. We got this player off. We've then took 120 million quid grant or loan or whatever they called it. Yeah, that we have to pay back. So people are saying there's 30 odd million come off the wage bill and we're going to have a massive summer spending spree. Do you think that's the case, Afsal? Or do you think this money being paid back is going to kill us?
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will affect us. At the end of the day, right, we're going to probably spend 70, 80 million in the summer. Listen, we've had our big summer spending in 2019 when we spent around 150 million. 2018, we spent nearish 100 million. Last year, obviously, we spent 70-ish, 80-ish million. This summer, I think it will be the same. For me, you know, it's a tough one because we're not going to be able to sell Aubameyang, in my opinion, you know, after he just signed the new contract. And I do want him sold, but that's going to be hard. So if you can't sell him, you have to sell Lacazette then. Because for me, both of them are not the answer going forward. And Aubameyang, like I said, it's going to be really hard to get rid of him. So let's try cash in on Lacazette, get a good centre forward. You know, I'm happy with Saka on the wings. I'm happy with Smith Rowe there. I reckon we also need a right back very, very badly. And I'm guessing Luiz might go this year. So then we need a centre back for sure. Because I don't think Gabriel, Holding, Mari are the answers to get us through next season.
Do you think he'll bring Saliba back?
Ooh, will he bring Saliba back? Who knows? Only he knows. I think maybe 1 more year he'll keep him up. I don't know. I'm not sure he will. So if he does, then all right. If he brings him back, you've got to play him. Simple as that. If not, then he's got to buy another centre back. Because like I said, Gabriel, his first 4 months, he impressed me quite a bit. But the last 4 months, he's been prone to a lot of mistakes, as we've seen. So I don't think he's a finished article yet. Holding as well. Holding is very inconsistent, you know. 1 game he'll be very good, then 2-3 games he won't be as good. Honestly, out of all our centre-backs, the centre-back that's impressed me the most is Mari. He's the least talked about, but I think he's impressed me the most. I think he's been the most solid out the 4. He's made the most mistakes out the 4 because David Luiz and Gabriel do make a lot of mistakes. In midfield, the Xhaka Partey combination, it has worked in some games, but in some games it doesn't. I think Partey, I'm gonna give him time. It's his first year, and he's been injured twice, so I'm gonna give him time. But he hasn't impressed me like I thought he would in his first season. But like I said, he suffered from 2 injuries, so I'm not gonna judge him after just 2-3 months. But honestly, he needs to improve on not giving the ball away in that midfield. But like I said, I'm very impressed with the youngsters. You know, Saka's impressed me thoroughly. Smith Rowe has. Martinelli, when he plays, has. I want to see Martinelli used more next season. I think Ødegaard has. I've been pretty impressed with him. I'm not going to lie. I think he's been decent since he's come. So I think the youngsters have impressed me. And remember, you've got the likes of Niles to come back. So at the moment, we don't have a backup left back. And obviously, Tierney is a great player, but he's injury prone. So I think Niles will need to come back to cover. I'm sure Willock will come back. He'll be a midfielding cover. But you know what, Lee? It's just so hard for me to see Arsenal getting back in the top 4. I honestly don't know how long it will be. Like I said, Lee, the best chance we've got in playing Champions League football in the next 3 years will be winning this competition this year. Simple as that.
And let me ask you one more question very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aubameyang and Lacazette. Would you sell them both, or would you get rid of neither, or would you just get rid of one?
I'd sell one simply because I think it's going to be impossible to sell Aubameyang. Who's gonna pay him the wages we are? So let's be realistic. He ain't getting sold, Aubameyang, unless him and Arteta have had this huge falling out, and Arteta has insisted to the board they want him sold. But I don't think that will be the case, simply because his wages. Like you said, we all remember with Ozil, it took us 3 years to get rid after giving him the big wage contract. So with Aubameyang, it's not going to happen a year after. So I would get rid of one of them. Even if it wasn't the Aubameyang situation, I'd still get rid of one of them. Because for me, if you're going to get rid of both, you're going to have to find 2 strikers to replace. Are we going to buy 2 strikers? No, of course not. So I'd get rid of one and buy one more striker.
Who would you buy?
I don't know. That's the difference. I don't know. Like, who would I buy? I would say the top striker, but it ain't happening. If you say, who would I buy? I'll tell you Haaland straight now. I'll tell you Harry Kane straight now. No, you said, who would I buy? But that's the thing. We've got to be realistic. We're not getting a top player. Yeah. Let's put it this way. Top players will go to your Man Cities, your Liverpools, your Man U's, your Chelseas if they go to the Premier League. That's how it is nowadays. Arsenal are not big enough to attract these top bracket players. So we've got to look at the second category. And which second category would I get? Who's available? I don't know. Which second category striker is available, Lee?
Everyone's available at the right price.
Everyone's available, but you know what? We ain't paying 120 million for Haaland, and even if we do, he ain't coming to us. We ain't paying 120 million for Harry Kane. They're your top bracket strikers you want at every club. But I would like someone like, I'm just going to say an example. Who's done well in the Premier League this year?
Ollie Watkins.
Yeah. You know what, right? I want someone like, I don't mind like a Calvert-Lewin type, someone like that. I'm not saying I want him exactly, but someone like Calvert-Lewin, who's a bit of a nuisance for defenders. Ollie Watkins, I don't think he's the finished article yet, but he's a good player. But someone around like Calvert-Lewin type, why not? Patrick Bamford's done well for Leeds, he's all right. But not good enough. Like I said, Patrick Bamford and Ollie Watkins aren't good enough for Arsenal. But that's why I said even Calvert-Lewin, I'm not sure if I'd take Calvert-Lewin's all right. He's a good player. But I want someone along that type of striker, along that caliber.
No, fair enough. Chig, let me come to you, mate. Obviously, he's got a big dilemma with Lacazette this summer. And obviously, Aubameyang's out of form, so he is favouring Lacazette. What would you do? Obviously, I know that you would have binned off Aubameyang before you gave him the contract. What would you do now? Would you keep Lacazette and Aubameyang, or would you try and ship them both out?
Nah, it's like walking into a bunch of stinging nettles and hoping that you don't get stung. You've done it before. You've done this before. Like, why would you, just because he's in good form, why would you hope that won't happen again? So I think and Lacazette, to be honest, seems like the type of player, not necessarily temperament-wise, but just it feels like when he's in bad form, it just feels like everything goes wrong. And he seems like the sort of player where once he gets into that miserable run, it will just continue and continue and continue. So for me, I don't really understand what the fuss is about. I think you already rate replacement for someone like a Lacazette, specifically for a Lacazette, is there in Edouard. What's wrong with Edouard? Doesn't mean that you have to stop at only Edouard. Just means, all right, cool, that's a consideration. That's someone who has the potential of getting goals, who ironically is a kind of a Lacazette-esque type of build and type of player. So I would say, cool. When you have your Martinelli's there, it's a big gamble. But the opportunity, this is what I love about the opportunity that we're in now, because as doom and gloom as we sound, let's have it right. We're on an amazing threshold of a feat whereby, in spite of one of the most horrible seasons I've ever witnessed as an Arsenal fan, we could actually win a European title that allows us to spend hefty money. We've not been in that position in a long time. It's like winning the lottery and not actually paying for a lottery ticket. Do you know?
Yeah, but let me just pull you up there. Yeah.
Hold on.
Go on.
I'll see where I'm going when I say that, because if that's the case, this is the opportunity where you can, all them people that talk about, well, this is the opportunity for Arteta to start building his dynasty, building his era, building his vision. All right, there you go, have at it. Because you ain't got an excuse now. Now you ain't got an excuse. You got the open checkbook. You got the open checkbook because Champions League football dictates it. So now we are going to see an Arteta team. For all those people who don't think for some reason 13 players isn't enough to be able to decide for it to be an Arteta team, cool. After this summer, it will be. And if he still isn't improving on 12th, I don't care how many European competitions he's winning, how many FA Cups he's winning. Do you think he deserves to be in a job if he finishes 10th? This is the thing. For me, this is where the mark of a manager comes into play. Yeah, all right, cool. I agree with the consensus. Generally, signings have gotten a bit better in that we haven't had so many shit shows this summer. You guys know, I still think the jury's out on Gabriel. I'm one of the few that aren't convinced just yet. You know, I agree with what Asfal said. I think Mari actually is the one for me that actually looks the most convincing out of all of our defenders. I still rate Chambers very highly, but I always have done. Can't stand Rob Holding. You guys know this already.
Yeah,
but
correct.
I think from my perspective, these are the chances he now has to get right. Because if he gets to the point where he can quite conceivably win this, he can beat a Unai Emery with an old man side who are very, very talented. But let's face it, one thing yesterday showed is eventually energy levels will catch up to you. And I think what we could eventually completely just outrun it. And then in terms of United, I'm still not convinced that Ollie's ever going to beat us. I don't know why. I'm just not ever convinced. So he could quite conceivably get the Champions League money. Then cool. I want to see an Arteta side because there will be no more excuses left. Then I want to see if he really is the big deal. Is he this amazing manager who people think is going to be the next Pep? Or is he just Pep R us and not even that?
The reason I wanted to pull you up on something, yeah, you said that Champions League means that we can go on a shopping spree, yeah? Do you genuinely believe that?
I think there is no way we're not spending more money in us in the Champions League than we would now. I know you have this theory, Lee. You never disagreed about. We've never agreed about the way Arsenal approach summer windows generally. I don't think we've ever agreed on one. So I get that. But I truly believe that if we had Champions League money, I think there'd be much more lackadaisical than there would be if they didn't have Champions League money. For sure.
Can I just say one more thing? Sorry to interrupt. I agree with Chick. Like, certain players are not the answers for this football club. Just because this is a problem we have as a fan base, right? We're 95% of our fans have a problem, right? You'll have a player like Lacazette. He'll be average, below average the whole season, and then he'll have a period of 6-7 good games. And now everyone's like, oh, he's the striker we need. He'll be back. Same as Rob Holding, right? Rob Holding was poor, for a while. He had 1 or 2 games. Oh, Rob Holding's the answer. Yeah, it's happened with Xhaka. It's happened with Bellerin. It's happened with Holding. It's happened with Lacazette. They're the same players who have underperformed for years, but then they go on a period. Every season, they go on 2 periods in the season where they have a run of good games, and then they go back to being not good enough. So it's important as a club now, we be firm, right? We be consistent. The players have to be consistent. I don't want 5 good games and then 10 average games. No. It's got to be more like 12 good games and 3 to 4 average games. It's the same players. It's like a process, It's like a process with specific players. They'll play well, they won't play well, and our fans give them too much leeway. That's the problem.
Yeah, but Yeah, no, listen, Asa, you're spot on, absolutely spot on. But I want to ask all of you before we wrap this up. I'll start with Dan. I just want to highlight this guy's comment real quick because he's been really on the owners, and I want to ask you guys about this, right? Because this guy has been banging on about Stan Kroenke this, Stan Kroenke that in the chat. Big up yourself for watching, mate. Yeah, but let me just educate you a little bit because you keep banging on about the owner and Wenger, and Wenger was his puppet and this and that. Yeah, 2007. A year after we moved into the Emirates Stadium, Stan Kroenke bought a 10% stake in this football club. So Stan Kroenke had no say in this football club for a good few years. Then he bought more and more stake, and then obviously there was spin-off and Kroenke battle as it was, which I think everyone can now sit and say basically we picked the wrong guy. But this guy has now been the owner of this football club, the full owner of the football club, by buying every single share at the club for what, 2 years? In that 2 years, net spend, only Man United in global football have outspent us. So I don't get what your point is about the owner, mate. I really don't. Because the owner has given the facilities to the managers that they've had in that time to go and spend the money. In the last 6 seasons, whilst he's been majority shareholder, we have outspent Chelsea. Yeah, so it's very easy to just grab a stick and start beating Stan Kroenke with it. Yeah, maybe educate yourself a little bit more, fella, before just throwing that stick at somebody that you don't really know the ins and outs of. Everything is on Arsenal's accounts, which you'll find on their website. You can go back through their last 20 years of accounts or so, yeah? I've done that, and there's been money to spend. We've spent money, and like I said, only Manchester United in the last 3 years it is, the last 3 years, only Manchester United have outspent Arsenal in Europe on net spend. So how's it the owner's fault? But let me come to you, Dan. What do you make of the owner?
Listen, I'm not a huge fan of him at all, Stan Kroenke. I don't think he's ever made a secret of the fact that he has no care about Arsenal Football Club. I don't think him or his son have an understanding of what they are doing 100% of the time. However, what I will say is I look at the ownership and the recruitment of the last 10 years, and it has been nothing short of piss poor. We spent a lot of money, but look at what we've spent it on, mate. We spent 35 million on Granit Xhaka instead of Kante. We spent 30 million on Mustafi instead of 11 on Van Dijk. So
well said.
What is going on with the poor recruitment in the last 10, 15 years? I can't understand it. It's still been poor. Somebody came in the chat earlier and talked about Sven Mislintat and how great he was. I didn't see it. Personally, he brought us Aubameyang, but he gave us Socrates, he gave us Mkhitaryan, he gave us Denis Suarez, he gave us Lichtsteiner, he gave us Mavropanos and Guendouzi, who are both buggered off now because they ain't going to be good enough. No, it ain't Sven Mislintat. It's not Raul's. It's all these people that keep coming in. Awful. All of them have been a shambles, right? So it's a circus, the way that we've been run and the way that the ownership and the board have come together. And this is why I keep saying that the owners are turning us, as well as the board, into a novice club because they are novices themselves. They're novices about football, Stan Kroenke and Josh. We've got a novice board. We've got a novice in Edu. We've got a novice manager. And now who's performing on the pitch? The novice players like Saka and Smith-Rowe and Martinelli, because that is what we are. We are now a novice club. That is what these board and owners are turning us into. So you can sit there and point the finger at Kroenke about money all you want, but actually we spent a lot of money. But look at what our clowns have spent it on. The recruitment has been piss poor, mate. People say we need European football. We must have European football. I've seen some of the worst footballers in the Arsenal's history with European football, like Mustafi and Granit Xhaka, who's still in the side that everyone has a wet dream about every time he plays football. I don't understand this. These players, they suck. We've still got Kolasinac coming back to us in the summer, man.
You're absolutely right, but that was supposedly with strategy. Now
exactly.
that we apparently haven't got any strategy, we've cleared all our scouts, we've cleared everything. We may as well go full Kelter and just say, you know what, fuck it, let's just do it. Let's get anybody in, and let's really go full cartoon, obviously, and see where we turn out.
And the thing is, Chig, about it as well. The thing is about it as well, Chick, is I really would love to see. Obviously, everyone wants new owners. Everybody wants Kroenke out. They can't unite to get him out, by the way, the fan base. But that's another story. The board actually have to have some Arsenal men on it, in my opinion. We're full of dinosaurs. Yeah, we're either dinosaurs or novices. Clear that out and let's get some people in that know what was wrong with David O'Leary. Yeah, apparently he was begging to be on the board. They didn't want him. Let's get some Arsenal men on the board, and then we can actually see what it's like to wear that shirt. We've got Edu and Arteta, who both play for the club. So maybe you love them or hate them. them. They understand what it's like to be a part of Arsenal Football Club. I'd like to see more of that because off the pitch, as I said earlier, I've been quite impressed with what I've seen in terms of recruitment into comparisons of what it was. Because like Willian and Ceballos, I don't think apart from them two, we're seeing anyone that's been absolutely shambolic like we've seen previously. So that's the one thing that I would say is positive about us moving forward. So I'd want to see more of that, mate, because I'm talking about Edouard. I agree with Chig. I think he's an upgrade on Lacazette. The right back's an issue for me because Hakimi, Lamptey and Aarons, as much as I'd like all three of them, neither of them are great at defending, but they're great at going forward. We definitely need a backup left back because I don't want that absolute clown coming back in Kolasinac, who's now relegated Schalke as well, by the way, him and Mustafi. So we need a backup left back. I'd look at Tariq Mitchell or somebody like that from Palace. There's talks of Ryan Bertrand as well on a free transfer. I'll be happy with Leno and Ryan for another season, if I'm honest with you. And obviously, I'd love to go and get Basuma from Brighton to partner Thomas Partey and get that absolute Swiss useless gimp out of our midfield, man, because he does my face in. He is so slow. Oh, dear me. It's unbelievable. Anyway, great last night at left back, by the way. But yeah, not for me. Not for me. Chaka, latest. And obviously, they need to look at a creative midfielder as well, whether it be Jack Grealish, Houssam Aouar, or obviously Ødegaard. They're the positions I think we need to strengthen.
The word gimp always makes me chuckle. It's hilarious. Jez, what do you think of the owner?
The owners, mate, basically, let's get it right. They're not football people. This is just a business model. Okay. When Kroenke bought his 10% stake, he is an investor. The whole family are investors. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They own Walmart and all that. So Arsenal Football Club, he's a businessman. He wants to make money. Now, I'm not fans of them. And I think it's actually Josh Kroenke who's the actual man at Arsenal. I think he is the real guy that talks to the three Arsenal directors. Yeah. I agree with what Dan said there. And they have invested in some decent talent, but it's not top class talent. We used to go out and buy, in my book, world-class players. Yeah, back in the day, Bergkamp, Henry, Vieira, they were class players. You tell me the last world-class player Arsenal bought.
Alexis.
Yeah, I'll go with that one. Ozil was an ex-FA Cup winner, but failed at Arsenal. Yeah, he got him here from Madrid and he just imploded. One good season in my book, and that is the lack of investment by Arsenal. Yeah, we go out and we buy some better than average players, but you know the Kroenke owners. This is just a business model. They're not interested. They probably don't even know when Arsenal are playing half the time. I doubt they're sat there on BT Sport watching. Or a channel watching Arsenal last night. So, to me, I would rather see them go, but they have never said, "Oh, this is." Well, I believe they've never said that. Oh, you've only got this to spend, because as you quite rightly said, Lee, in 3 years, Arsenal are only behind Man United in what the next spend has been. Mm. But I also, just to come back to that point you made about the £120 million bank grant, it was grant, not a loan. And the fact of the matter is that was taken out by Kroenke. Yeah? So it's Kroenke that will be paying that back. He borrowed that money from the bank to put into Arsenal for, I guess, for... maintain the club during the COVID outbreak. So it'll be him that's paying that back. And that, again, if you know, anybody that's ever had their own business or been in business, it's a sensible move. It was a sensible move. Why use your own money
when you can get it for zero interest?
At the end of the day. So at the end of the day, it's a sensible move. And it'd be Kroenke or the Kroenke establishment that pays that back. It's not coming out the Arsenal reserve account or the Arsenal direct account. It's coming out of their business model. So I do agree with Dan to a point there, mate. But who else is going to own Arsenal at this point in time? We hear this rumour about this African guy. Yeah,
he's just all that, mate. If he was going to buy it, he would have bought it by now.
Yeah, he's been talking about it. It's a bit like me saying, I'm thinking about buying Arsenal. Now, obviously, I have got nowhere near this money to buy Arsenal.
We all know you're mintages.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. But, you know, who at this point in time would buy Arsenal? Because, let's be honest, the Cronkies aren't going to sell it on the cheap.
Matthew Flamini, mate. Matthew Flamini.
But
could you imagine if he did actually buy the club? Like, it would be an even bigger shit show. Let's be real.
He'll bring his best mate Mesut Ozil back.
Oh yeah, it'd be the fucking chairman.
But the thing is, the other thing is that, let's say somebody did come in and buy it. Yeah, the Cronkies aren't going to sell it at a bargain budget price. Yeah. Well, they are going to want big dollar, and whoever does come in and has got that serious dollar to buy Arsenal, they've got major investment to make. So it's a double-edged sword, basically. You know, I think we're going to be stuck with the Cronkies for a long period of time, and I still think that I still maintain this. If fans were in the Emirates, Arteta would have been gone.
100% agree with you. Kenny, what do you think, mate?
Well, the thing about it is, like, adding all the points, my biggest problem with Kroenke is that I agree with 100%. We paid the most in salaries. Let's just forget, only a Man United player get paid more than Aubameyang and Ozil previously. So in terms of salaries, we are outspending on player salaries of Man City, Tottenham, Liverpool, and Chelsea. 100% we're paying more money on player salaries than those teams. People don't want to believe it because they're big clubs. The thing the Cronkies have done wrong, as Jez and Dan has said, is not spent the money wisely. You look at Chelsea and you look at Man City, two great examples. What they've done is they haven't just spent money on expenditure. They spent money on getting the best people and the best jobs in terms of like a transfer commit, something to deal with contracts, something to deal with director of football, like Tariqistan. And they also got some to deal with player wages and transfers. Granit Sky at Chelsea, one of the best operators in football. You look at before, when City first got a job, you had people like Brian Mulwood, who was with us, and you had Cook, and now they got Tariqistan. That is where you spend you do a great job behind the scenes, because then you can attract the best players. Look at Man City and Chelsea. But not only have they spent money on the best people behind the scenes, they've also bought new training grounds, both teams. And also, what Man City and Chelsea do better than Arsenal is that they attract the best players, i.e. Man City, in the Northwest. That's where you spend your money, as well as buying players. In Chelsea, you go in London, Chelsea get the best boys. That's where you do. You do the full package. It's not just spending money on players and try and just throw your money out. If you really, really want to compete, you've got to do it in all areas, off the pitch and on the pitch. And that's where my biggest problem with the Cronkies is that they just concentrate and do what they feel they have to do, is throw money at bad players and throw in terms of salaries and transfer fees. If they've got right people behind the scenes and concentrating more on their setup, getting the best footballing setup, then they're quids in. In terms of the Emirates as well, I like the thing about the Emirates as well. It was built on Champions League football, which means we've got everything in place to challenge to be one of the best teams in Europe. But if we don't have what Chelsea and Man City have behind the scenes in all the three disciplines that I mentioned, forget it. Just forget it.
Well said, Kenny. Kenny's spitting facts today. Look, he's done. He's muted his mic and he's sitting back on his chair. Chig, I know your thoughts on the owners, but tell me anyway.
It's a good opportunity for them this summer, because all of a sudden I've got this renewed belief of wins. So because of that, I think there'll be more money back, about like I alluded to in the show. And I think it's a good opportunity for them to remarket themselves in a way in front of the fans, in front of maybe their own players to a certain extent. So, this big selection, it was a bit it's premature, but maybe this is the time where they should indeed be excited. I mean, that's the dreamy response, right? That's the response that you would probably not expected from me. My realistic expectation is I don't trust Stan Kroenke with Kenny's hand, quite frankly. I just feel like he's just a slimy oil salesman. And I hear what people say that, they feel like Josh is the main man. I don't really get that. I think he's the better presenter. That's the only thing that's the only reason why I think people say that. He's the more charming guy. He's the presenter. He's the younger guy. He's the one that's more in touch. But I think Stan is the HNIC. Will always be the HNIC. And any kind of little scraps that he throws to Josh, he throws to Josh for the sake of it. So I think it's kind of two things. We could be looking at a situation where absolutely nothing happens. Arsenal won't win the Champions League, don't win the Europa League anyway. They don't have Champions League money. We're back to status quo. Ignore what I've said in the last 2 minutes. Then you have an opportunity where Arsenal could win the Europa League. Kind of don't want to advertise it too much because it obviously weakens their bargaining power when it comes to the negotiating table. And in which case, again, ignore the above here. Or it could be an opportunity where they say to themselves, okay, we snuck in through the back door here. We have no right to say a Jack Grealish, but there's an opportunity to get one. We have no right to a Bazuma, but there's an opportunity to get one. These are two players who I understand would really be very keen on joining the club as well, particularly Bazuma, who is an Arsenal fan. So I think from my perspective, I would just like to see us go into the transfer window with a bit of honesty. It's going to be difficult because we've got literally 8 or 9 players all competing for 4 places. And that's if you accept top 4 as a target. If you don't accept top 4 as a target, your chairs have just become a little less. I used to hate musical chairs for that reason. Because I would be the one that everyone would try and bully. Because they knew that if my ass was anywhere near that chair, good luck. You are not getting that musical chair. So I think from my perspective, Arsenal needs to just be sensible, focus on the rest, finishing the rest of the season strong. We've got supposedly, quote unquote, easy games between now and the end of the year.
Oh mate, don't even go there with the easy games, bruv. We've taken 2 points out of 9 against Burnley.
Yeah, but listen, every penny at this point, if we don't win the competition, could help. So let's just finish as strongly as we possibly can up that league. Have something to look forward to the end of the year. Let me tell you something. For all of my running of the mouth, I love beating United in finals. So the idea of beating United in a European final, shit, I would love that. And that considering how poor the season has been, that is an amazing way to end the season.
No, that's true. Listen, if we can finish it off, then it's been a bad season, but we've topped it with a trophy. And this is the thing, even under Wenger, we were somehow shithousing our way to FA Cups. And this is the thing, like, I get why people laugh at Tottenham, because when they're shit, they don't win nothing. When they're great, they don't win nothing. When we're shit, we still fucking win trophies. But Afsal, just to finish up, mate, before we wrap this up, what are your final thoughts on the owners, mate? Afsal's disappeared. Afsal?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, mate. Go on.
Oh, I don't know what happened. Oh, sorry about that. Anyways, I'm more of a the problem is being with the people that we've bought the wrong players, because if you think about it rightly, our front three is the most expensive front three in the Premier League.
Yeah, that's true.
55 million Aubameyang, 50 million Lacazette, 72 million Pepe. So no one can say that we haven't invested in forward players, because we have, right? So that myth is kind of gone. Our midfielders, 45 million Partey, 35 million Xhaka, 35 million for Xhaka. Like Dan said, we spent 35 million on Xhaka over 35 million on Kante, and that is proved very, very costly. Defense, we spent money. Gabriel was 20 odd million. Mustafi was the other year in 2016, 35 million. So we've actually spent money. And remember, Torreira, 25 million. Socrates was 18 to 20 million. So we've actually spent the money, but we've spent the money on the wrong players, in my opinion. Yeah. And that has affected us a lot. And also, what has also been the problem is we've sold our players for certain players for next to nothing. Like Sanchez was our world-class player and he went for nothing, right? Ramsey was a decent player and he went for nothing. So on these players where Sanchez on a normal year, if he had 2 years left on his contract, you'd probably get 60, 70 million out of him, 70 million out of him. And Ramsey, you'd get 30, 40 million out of him. That's already 110 million lost out for two players. So we've undersold. Like, look at, for example, Liverpool, right? They sold Coutinho at 140 million. This was when they were starting to become a very, very good side. They sold Coutinho for 140 million, and they didn't really need him because they already had Salah and Mane. And what did they buy with that? What did they do with that 140 million? They didn't replace him directly. They bought the best centre-back in the world, and they bought one of the best keepers in the world. And what happened after that? They won the Champions League. They won the Premier League. So they recruited right. We recruited. Our recruitment policy in the last few years has been wrong, and our transfer policy has been wrong. And that's where I think lies a huge problem. So Stan has invested, but it's just gone on the wrong players, in my opinion.
No, listen, I totally agree with all you. I'm not so much get him out, because I think there's a big there's a big theory that if you get him out, like there's been people in the chat tonight saying, oh, but if he's a billionaire, yeah, the guy who owns Bournemouth's a billionaire, mate. Like every football owner these days is a billionaire. Just because they're a billionaire don't mean that that's Arsenal's money. Yeah, like they've earned their money, and the thing is, people have this idea that if you're a billionaire that's got £8 billion, you've got 8 billion sat in your bank and you're going to withdraw it and spend. No, you've got 8 billion in assets. Yeah, you've probably got less than £500 million sat in your bank account. Yeah, the rest is wrapped up in assets. So I just think he is a massive issue. And I'd rather we have a different owner, because I think that there is ways to boost our revenue streams. We can go and sponsor London Colney Training Ground and call it the Walmart fucking stadium or something. Yeah, like £100 million a year over 5 years. That's instantly £100 million transfer money every summer. That's without what we get anyway. Yeah, so there is ways to boost it. They're not ambitious, we get that. But at the same time, they know fuck all about football. And they trusted a man who's no longer at this football club after 2 decades. And he has a lot to say in the reason why we are so shit now, because there's a lot of scraps that have had to have been picked up. And Gazidis can take some of that blame as well. But listen, lads, it's been emotional. We've gone on for longer than I thought I was going to go on for. Dan, thank you very much for coming on, man. I've put your link for your Twitter account in the description of this video. So if anyone wants to go and follow Dan, make sure you click on that. It's in the description of the video. And thank you. Anything else you want to plug, Dan, before you go?
No, if anyone fancies coming over to Same Old Arsenal at 7, me and Kenny will be on to chat about last night's game and the Fulham game in the weekend with a couple of Arsenal fans and a Fulham fan. So if anyone fancies hopping over at 7 o'clock to Same Old Arsenal on YouTube, please feel free.
Happy days. Jez, I've put your Instagram. I know you're new to Instagram. I've put your Instagram in the description as well. So make sure you go to the description and follow Jez's Instagram. Final thoughts, mate. Anything else you'd like to plug?
No, nothing else to plug, mate. But I'll just say, yeah, I'm positive for the European Trophy, and I think it's going to be one of those ones where we'll do it.
No, nice one, mate. Kenny, as always, your Twitter's in there, so make sure you follow Kenny Ken. I see you've hit 15K on Twitter, Kenny.
Well, I'm not going to make a big announcement about it, but I haven't got anything. I haven't got anything important to say, but I've just cleared up a few things. I don't. When I do podcasts, I don't sit on toilet seats. And by the way, I'd just like you guys to know these are boxing shorts. They're not my boxer shorts. So remember, have a look at me boxing shorts. And anyone thinks it's boxer shorts, I'll go and take him down. Isn't boys boxing club, and they can have a few rounds with me. They want to take my clothes.
I don't think they fancy their chances, Kenny. I can't lie.
They got no chance.
Chig, as always, pleasure having you on again, mate. I hope you get out of hospital soon as well, buddy. And I've also put your channel link as always in the description. So make sure you go and subscribe to Gooner Eagle Eye. Anything else you want to say, Chig?
No, cheers, mate. Thank you for the love again. And I'll be for those asking, I will be doing a combat show today. It will be obviously I'll be producing it kind of via hospital, so it'll be a little less me and a little more the other two boys. But hopefully you guys won't mind that. So make sure you check us out at 9:30 at the usual time.
Nice one.
The combat show.
There you go. And Afsal hasn't got social. Well, he has, but he don't want you to have it. He's obviously hiding something. I'm not sure what it is he's hiding. But any final thoughts, Afsal?
Nah, yeah. Thanks for having me on, as always. And when's the podcast gonna be when your manager's defeated Lee?
My manager, you know.
What's gonna happen?
Well, listen, I don't go into hiding, mate. I was here every single day from the day we won the FA Cup. When I was getting bombarded with little Arteta sexuals telling me he's proven me wrong. He's proven me wrong. Yeah, here we are nearly a year later, and he's actually proven me right.
Lee, can I just say something? Can I just say something? I think
go on, mate.
I think one of our best friends, Dan Potts, had one of Arteta's biggest fans on. I don't think that person made a lot of contribution, Dan, but I think we know who we're talking about, innit? I think it was one-word answers. You're wrong, I'm right. Oh yeah, you're gonna love him again, and that was it. Biggest waste of space and biggest waste of an hour having that person on anyway. The thing about it, right, is that sometimes people get confused the amount of Twitter followers they have with their actual football interest and knowledge. Just saying.
Kenny woke up today and chose violence. On that bombshell, we're getting out of here before we upset anyone else.
Thanks.
Quickly pin that. Big up to my guy. Would you drop Aubameyang and Laka in the final? Would you drop Aubameyang for Laka in the final? On current form, Laka's in, mate. And thank you very much for all the donations tonight as well. I appreciate it. Big up to everyone in the chat. Very quickly, I will be back again soon as that Tottenham-Everton game finishes tonight with a live video call-in show. So if you want to come on camera and have your say, number one, you have to have watched the game. Number two, you have to have your camera on or I'm kicking you straight out. Number three, you have to type your name in where the name bit is, what country you're from and what team you support. And you've got 90 seconds. Come join me, 10 o'clock tonight. We're out of it.
That rule